procedure at Shaw is now more affordable. Integrity of the ILOC procedure. For more information, go to the Shaw Eye Center website. Shaw Eye Center. Founded on a vision of excellence.
Edinburg Vela 0-10 last year to start varsity play, 0-1 to start this year, but on Thursday night they were looking good. Justin Revilla in for the touchdown, made it 7-0 as Vela taking on PSJA Southwest. And then 2 minutes left in the first quarter, Justin Revilla once again, Edinburg Vela getting it done on the ground, and Edinburg Vela wins the first game in program history. Yeah, a big one for Coach Michael Salinas and his crew as Vela finally breaks through with a victory. But the other Edinburg team that was playing on Thursday night might have had the better game. As a matter of fact, it was probably the game of the week as Edinburg Economedes and McAllen Memorial got after it. McAllen Memorial running back Trevor Spates didn't look great against Edinburg, but against Economedes, wow, how about 242 yards and 3 touchdowns? There is one of them, and Spates proving he can catch the ball out of the backfield as well. Perfect pass from Jonathan Sanchez right there. Now, there were 6 minutes left in the game. Economedes was down 21-20, but a punishing 83-yard clock-killing drive led by Tony Izaguirre, who went for over 150 yards, led to a 1-yard quarterback sneak from Jaguars' Luis Alvarez, and when the 2-point conversion was good, Economedes had a 28-21 win. The last chance for the Mustangs came here, but the pass was incomplete, and Economedes a huge win, and afterwards, Coach Gabe Pena talked about measuring himself against the Mustangs.
You know, we played a quality program that we use when we play them as a measuring stick to see where we're at. That's the barometer we want to be at, and you know, we want to be where Memorial is, a perennial playoff team. And so this gives us a chance. You know, it's going to propel us in the right direction, and you know, our boys are going to savor it.
We just keep our mouths shut, we stay humble, and we just come out and fight in the field. When we get the victory, we get the respect.
Joe, Economedes, you know, made the playoffs back in 2004, but never made it back until last year. Has the culture changed at Economedes? Is this a team now we need to think about making the playoffs every year?
Yeah, it changed, and I think truly it changed a year ago. Same game. The players, you talked to them, you talked to Coach Pena before the game this last week. They believed. Once they played with McAllen Memorial last year, they believed. Now, look out, because this team, they're solid, and now they believe, which is bigger.
Mike, we talked about Vela, we talked about Economedes, but the team most people think is going to be the best one in Edinburg is Edinburg North, and once again, they went berserk last night, 35-7 over Brownsville Rivera. The North Cougars team looks like a big powerhouse this year.
They're the team I picked to win this district only because I wanted to think outside the box of Sherryland. Everybody's going to pick Sherryland, but they had a lot coming back from a team that went 3 deep last year, so you'd figure with that kind of nucleus that they could establish a good season and give Sherryland that kind of challenge. But yeah, Edinburg Economedes is doing an outstanding job at Coach Pena, and this is what his 3rd year with the program, and I think they were winless a couple of years ago, if I'm not mistaken. So that tells you what kind of turnaround he's put. And the slot T offense, a lot of people don't like it, but what I like about the advantage you have with that offense is that you keep a guy like Trevor Spates off the field when you can move the ball and chew the clock off.
And the thing about these Edinburg teams that we're talking about is they all love to run the ball, Joe. Vela runs the ball, Economedes runs the ball, and of course Edinburg North can run the ball with a couple of different backs.
Yeah, and it makes for a real quick game, which means that, you know, conditioning-wise, you get your players up, you go hard-nosed at it, and you know that it's a short-phased game, and they're all ready to roll.
All right, well, let's get after it because District 35A play begins this week, and the biggest game on the schedule will be at Cat Stadium. It will be Edinburg North hosting Edinburg Economedes, both teams coming off of wins. Mike, let me go ahead and ask you, what's your pick for this game?
I will stick with Edinburg North only because I picked them to win this district, so I expect them to come out and take care of business in the first district game of the year. But I expect this to be a well-played game by both Edinburg schools.
Well, I expect this to be a war. Coach Pena said the glass slipper's still on, but I'm going to pick Edinburg North because of that defense, only because of the way their defense plays.
Well, all right, well, let's make it 3 for 3. Despite the incredible comeback win for Economedes, I just think Edinburg North has too much talent. They've got so many running backs they can hand off to. Of course, you can say the same thing about Economedes, but I just think Edinburg North is a little deeper and can probably go a little longer in what is sure to be a war. The other game between two teams that come off of wins in District 35A, it's La Jolla taking on Edinburg Vela at Cat Stadium. This is the Thursday night game at Cat Stadium. La Jolla coming off of a huge win over Brownsville Porter where they looked really good. Once again, though, it's Porter. What do we know about La Jolla? What do you expect from this game, Mike, and who is your winner?
I got Edinburg Vela winning this game only because they got their first win in their pocket now, so you feel pretty good about that. And anytime you can win, when you do a first in a program, you feel really good about that. So now it's up to the coaches and the players to put a nice game plan together and beat a team like La Jolla, which I think will be another great game.
All right, so what do you think there, Joe? Is it 2 in a row for Edinburg Vela after 11 straight losses?
Sometimes in sports, it's all about momentum. Ride the wave, Vela rides the wave, gets another win. It won't be easy, but they'll get it.
All right, well, I hate to keep agreeing with you guys, but I am going to, and it will be Edinburg Vela, I think, with a win at Cat Stadium. The way they are running the ball, the depth that they've got, the running backs, I just think that the defense of Edinburg Vela will be able to stop La Jolla in a way that Brownsville Porter maybe could not do. Well, we are coming right back with more on Sunday Sports Extra. We're going to talk about our top performers. We're going to talk about who's the best. Port Isabel and Ed Calchelsa are both making a play for a best team in the Valley, at least on the sub-5A ranks, maybe above 5A as well. We're talking about that. Plus, yeah, how about an unbelievable pass and an unbelievable catch in our top performers? It's all when we come back on Sunday Sports Extra.
He is in the shotgun. He's a play action pass. Means he faked the run. He's going to throw the ball. He has a man wide open. He counts the 45, the 50, the 45, 40, 35, 30, 25, 20, 10, 5, touchdown!
Yeah, check it out. Michael Harrison to Jordan Saldana for a 95-yard touchdown that brought Edinburg to within 3, but Mac High outlasted the Cats for a 20-17 win. But Michael Harrison is our top performer when it comes to quarterbacks in Week 1, 265 yards and 2 touchdowns, followed very closely behind by both Noe Gonzalez of Ed Calchelsa and Brandon Garza of Harlingen. How about wide receivers? Isak Martinez only caught 4 balls for Ed Calchelsa, but they all went for scores. Unbelievable for him. And on running backs, well, it looked like Trevor Spates once again, 242 yards, the only guy over 200 yards this week. Props to Esteban Oliveros of Progreso and Jaden Taylor of Harlingen South, however, as well. But let's talk a little bit about Ed Calchelsa. We talked about Isak Martinez. Mike, this team is so loaded. They have just trounced 2 5A teams in a row. Is there anything that this team cannot do after wins over Wesco and PSJA North?
Well, you got 33 lettermen back. 4 players were All-State, 3 first-team All-Staters. It kind of reminds me of an all-star team a little bit. They have so many weapons, from Noe Gonzalez, a quarterback, who's gone 24 of 30 for 449 yards and 6 touchdowns in the first 2 games against 5A teams. And you have a guy like Israel Orero, Miguel Mariscal, Mark Garcia, Isak Martinez, Diego Garcia on offense. You have so many options to go to. And then on defense, you got Robert Trevino, who already has 4.5 sacks in the first 2 games and 9 quarterback pressures. Brian Villa, Bucky Barrera, Brandon Villa. I mean, these guys, there's no going wrong. They can do anything.
Yeah, it seems like they can. And Israel Laredo, had his neck injured, but should be back in the coming weeks. Your thoughts on the Jackets.
Well, I mean, just listening to them rattle off the list, that's why you look at them as good as they are, because they're not going to rely on one guy or two or three or four, and that's on offense or defense. They got strengths on both sides. That's why they're that good. Are they the best, though?
Are you surprised at all, Mike, that there's been no problems transitioning from Joe Solis to Joe Marie Solar?
Not at all. I think they got the right guy in there as a head coach. They had a guy that they respected who was within the program, who they already liked. And then they brought two coordinators from La Villa in Danny Perez and Joe Garcia.
Two other Ed Cauchelsa guys.
Offensive, defensive coordinators who you can tell the transition has been really smooth, if not even better than the way it was before. And I mean, they're flying now.
Yeah, but like Joe said, are they the best? Because Port Isabel is making a claim that they should definitely be in that discussion. LB Bennett had an unbelievable Friday night, scoring on this play on offense and then scoring again on defense after the Scott Arnold 1-yard score. PI just seems to get better and better. They want state. Everything they do is geared towards state. Joe, what are your thoughts on PI after 2 games?
Well, I think they're still on target to believe that, and I think the reason is, again, they've got multiple players on both sides of the football, but the bigger issue is that they can control the football on the offense. That running game can outright take some of these big high-flying offenses that may see you in the 3rd and 4th round of the playoffs and negate that. And I think with that, you look at them, still believe you can go to state.
You think Ed Cauchelsa wishes they could still play Port Isabel the way they did a couple of years ago? Do you think PI wants to take on EE this year?
I know us media and the fans would love to see it. But here's a thing that I think would separate them. Ed Cauchelsa don't have as many players that play both sides of the ball.
True.
And Port Isabel has a bulk of their players that play both sides of the ball. So you wonder how it would look like in the 4th quarter. But talent-wise, on paper, this matchup would be fun to watch.
All right, real quick hits on the sub-5A level. Rio Hondo comes up with a huge win at home over Juarez Lincoln. Joe, your thoughts on a 3A beating a 5A?
Well, I still think Rio Hondo is going to be better than what you're seeing now. They're still getting healthy. I mean, there were so many guys on crutches at the scrimmage I covered. It was crazy. And so they're going to get better.
St. Joseph, meanwhile, has the top offense in the Valley, over 100 points already. Can anybody stop the Bloodhounds, Mike?
If they keep playing the way they are, I don't think so. But until they play some elite competition, that's where you'll really find out how good they are. I don't know if Progresso is the kind of team where you can really see exactly what they have, but time will tell later in the season.
Yeah, they 7 seconds or less once that ball hits the ground, they are snapping it. So it's a fun offense to watch. We are coming right back on Sunday Sports Extra. Going to talk about taking the trophy. That's what Harlingen did, big time. Again, the Battle of the Arroyo. And we're also talking about the comeback of the week. How about those PSJA Bears? They are 2-0. We'll talk about it next on Sunday Sports Extra.
Deals of the year are here, and they're only at your Yamaha dealer. The Yamaha Model Year
Comeback of the week in Los Fresnos, where PSJA was down 21-7 to the Falcons in the second quarter, but right before the halftime buzzer, Jesse Navarro to Bobby Guajardo, and it's 21-14. And then in the second half, Jesse Navarro, the new quarterback, hits Taylor Santillan, the old quarterback. PSJA outscores Los Fresnos 26-7 down the stretch. Los Fresnos takes a knee at the end instead of spiking the ball, and PSJA wins 33-28 to start the season 2-0. Mike, Steve Marroquin is 2-0 as the head of the Bears going into district play. What do you think of these guys?
One of the surprise teams in the Valley so far. Yeah. Steve Marroquin is a guy I met while he was an assistant in Mercedes, and I always thought he had a bright mind and would make a good head coach someday. And I'm very happy for him, and I'm very happy for the Bears that they got things going again, because them not being competitive in the Valley is just not the same in Valley football. We're used to hearing these guys being top 10, top 5 in the Valley, and it's good to see them going, and it's good to see that they've gone back to the running game. Now they're more balanced, where last year they tried to throw the ball. And I thought being that they ran for so many years was just too much for the players to adjust to.
Too much running and too much passing. Now it seems that they've got the right mix.
They got a nice mix, and they also have this aura now that they've won some close ball games, and they won on the road, and so they got a lot to build on, and I don't think we've heard the end of them by any stretch for this year.
All right, it is District 31 5A beginning this week. McAllen Rowe at McAllen is the big game of the week, and Mike, let's talk about this. Rowe and Mac High coming off of big wins in week 1. Who do you see winning this one?
I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Rowe was able to bounce back from their loss in the first game of the year. I think I have Mac High going 3-0 to start the year. Another surprise team, sort of.
What about you, Joe?
I think McAllen Rowe is still growing. I think they're going to get better and better and better, but not good enough yet to beat McAllen. I'm going to go with McAllen.
All right, well, from what I saw from Justin Owens last week, I've got to take Rowe, because that kid can not only throw the ball, he's shifty as a runner. Had almost 200 yards rushing. I'm going to go with McAllen Rowe with the win there. The Battle of the Arroyo, not much of a battle this year. It was the biggest deficit in, 84 years? Yeah, it was over in a heartbeat. Harlingen downs San Benito, and it wasn't even close, taking the trophy. Joe, you were there. Your thoughts on this Harlingen team and what they look like coming back after the loss at San Antonio Johnson?
Well, sometimes you can break it down to one play can make a difference in a game. How about the first play on defense? The first hit of the night, delivered a blow, caused a turnover, scored points, and set the tone. Statistically, this was a blowout, and that score could have been a lot worse.
Could have been a lot worse. Yeah, but the surprise team in 32-5A has to be Brownsville Lopez. Now they are 2-0 after just trouncing Valley View at Sam Stadium this past week. Mike, your thoughts on the Lobos and the fact that they're 2-0 under their new coach, Jason Starkey?
When I was doing research before the season, one thing stood out at me. Two things stood out at me. First, that they had a lot coming back. I think they had 9 starters on each side of the ball, if I'm not mistaken. Second, they have a head coach who is a 2-time All-Mid-American selection at Marshall University.
Yeah.
And he was part of a team that won a D1 AA national title in 1996. And he played in the NFL. Okay, if you're a high school athlete and you have that kind of a resume as your head coach, it's not very difficult to listen to somebody like that. You get their attention, it motivates them, and then you have that kind of experience. When you and I were talking before the season started, we both agreed that that was going to be our dark horse team in 32-5A, and with spots 3 and 4 to me wide open in 32-5A, I will not be surprised if they make the playoffs.
Yeah, and speaking of the coach who was at Marshall, that Lopez Lobos offensive line is definitely a thundering herd. And look at their schedule. This week a bye, next week at Harlingen. Sure, that's tough, but then the final 7 weeks of the season, Lopez plays all their games at Sam Stadium. Definitely a team to watch. We are coming right back to finish up on Sunday Sports Extra. Going to talk a little volleyball when we come back.
Live the regular life. Considering LASIK? Meet Connie Garona. Connie is not a paid spokesperson. She's just like you. She selected Shaw Eye Center because Shaw Eye Center took the time to thoroughly explain the LASIK procedure and even helped Connie finance her procedure. Shaw Eye Center, founded on a vision of excellence.
But our intentions is to break the school record to go further in the playoffs than any other team. I think we've gone to the Sweet 16, but I think these girls are determined to even break that record.
Yeah, talk about record breakers. The first Valley team ever to be ranked #1 overall in the state, Class 4A's Mission Veterans. But in order to make it to state, they'd have to get past number 6 Cedar Park, number 16 Leander. But hey, they already look like they're going to have an undefeated regular season because they've beaten the Ed Cow Chelsea Yellow Jackets, their main rival, 3-0 yesterday. Mission Veterans Patriots are 3-0. Quick thoughts about having a team ranked #1 in volleyball, Mike?
I did not even know they were ranked #1 until yesterday was brought to my attention, and then I read about it. I think that's great for the Valley. Will they be able to deal with the pressure?
Yeah,
that's what we'll
that's
see.
That's the big question.
I watched them all summer long, and I kept seeing some good things. Now, well, circle that, because look where that was played at, and remember what Ed Cow Chelsea does at their place. When that goes back there, pack the house, because that's real volleyball going on.
That is true. That is it for us on Sunday Sports Extra today. The NFL Today comes up next, followed by the Bengals at the Bears. Watch Rio Hondo's Roberto Garza live right here. Then the U.S. Open Women's Final. A replay of Sunday Sports Extra tonight at 10:35. And tomorrow it will be the men's final. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, valleycentral.com, and we will be right back here for Sunday Sports Extra next week. We'll see you then.
We know we're not the biggest, but we are the best.
Come test drive the all-new 2014 GMC Sierra and drive it home for just $399 a month. 2013 GMC Acadia for $299 a month. GMC Terrain for $199 a month.
And make no mistake about it, we will earn your business.
By treating you with respect and honesty.
And that's the South Texas way. South Texas being GMC. All right, everybody, it's game time.
Nothing never seems to work around here. Must be the battery.
At some point, you're going to have to do something about your vision. It's 661 UC me time, Dr. Raul Peña. Go Cowboys!
De allí es Ciudad Peña. This for TV.
And this is for you to call 661 UC.
I love the A1 Thick and Hearty Burger. It's my all-time favorite without a doubt. You got the cheese, the bacon, the grilled onions, the A1 Thick and Hearty sauce. It just mingles together beautifully.
At Whataburger, we do make it with love. We pour it with love. We even put a nice little W on it.
See the sauce? That's easily a 3-napkin sandwich right there. Smoking just with bacon, cheese gets all melty, gets in there.